Now, will
You know,
Donald Trump be a better president second time round? And will Harry and Meghan's marriage survive 2025? But first, has the owner of X and the world's richest man, Elon Musk, lost the plot? Some have raised an eyebrow about his very vocal intervention in British politics, including the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, who has said that he crossed a line by saying that Government Minister Jess Phillips was a rape apologist. So is Elon Musk simply a heroic truth teller or a power-crazed billionaire? Who better to ask than America's psychiatrist, the legendary Dr. Carol Lieberman. Carol, welcome to the Mark Dolan Show.
thank you. It's my pleasure.
What's your appraisal of Elon Musk's mental state?
Well, Elon Musk is a very interesting man. His brain, his psyche is very interesting. He once almost sort of implied that he knew that he was bipolar, manic depressive, in an interview. But I don't know that I would go that far. I mean, it's certainly possible. I think I would more safely say that he has cyclothymia or cyclothymic personality or cyclothymic cyclothymic disorder, which is basically bipolar or manic depressive disorder, but at a lower level. In other words, it's not a psychosis. Now, the positive part of that is that this is what has enabled him to be so creative and so amass such a fortune and all of that in his manic sort of phase. And so, but then of course there are depressive phases too. Of course, I happen to agree with him with what he's been saying about England and the rape gangs. I mean, that is just unbelievable, and I'm glad that somebody is someone who people are listening to is bringing it out.
We have Elon to thank for the fact that this scandal has become a national conversation.
Yes, and I think that is so important. I mean, I remember reading about this years and years ago. At that time, it was just it seemed like it was just some small magazine article, but it's been allowed to fester, which is unbelievable, especially in England. You kind of, we in America, we respect England a lot and think that, that you're supposed to sort of have even more of a democratic kind of government. And it is definitely falling short between Keir Starmer and the mayor of London, who just got an award, who became a knight, a sir. It's just as crazy as what's happening in America with Biden giving out medals like to George Soros, for example. So I mean, people have just kind of lost their mind, and so I think in this, what is that saying? In a group of blind men, the nearsighted is king, or something like that. So Elon Musk, I mean, I'm not saying, so Elon Musk, he does have whatever he has. Let's say it's this cyclothymic disorder.
Easy for you to say.
It's a good thing he doesn't have to say the word. But anyhow, even if he has that, he is using it for all of its positive qualities. So I think here. Now the only part of it that I'm concerned about is that because he is such a strong personality, and of course Trump is such a strong personality, I'm a little concerned that they're going to, at some point, I mean, they love each other right now, and that's all great, but at some point, I'm a little worried that they're going to start butting heads, because we have two type A men who are very strong in their beliefs. And I hope that Elon remembers that he's not the president.
Yeah. Most definitely, there is that risk of a clash of wills. Is it also difficult to work alongside someone like Elon Musk, given the psychology and the makeup that he has?
Yes, he does need to be in control. He does need to be the one who's right, and he does it in a very forceful kind of way. But he's not unreasonable for the most part, And so I think even though it's you do have to sort of it does take more effort to work together with him. But on the other hand, you have somebody who's super creative, and there are some perks in working together with a super creative person. So so we're going to have to see.
We'll have
But
to
I
see.
think
I
he did.
mean,
I
you've
think he
obviously,
did help Trump get elected,
yeah.
and that was a positive.
Well, indeed. And of course, Donald Trump has got a long memory. And yes, he holds a grudge against those who have acted ill against him, but he looks
Yeah.
after his allies. And clearly, Elon Musk is one of those. We'll get to Trump in just a moment. With regard to Elon, though, given the fact that you have helped thousands upon thousands of people to restore their mental health, you are America's psychiatrist. Are there any red flags in terms of Elon Musk's behavior? Like, are you concerned by the sheer volume and ferocity of his posts on X? Are there any concerns there? Because I'm a big Elon Musk fan, but I'm slightly worried that the guy never seems to sleep.
Well, that's part of his cyclothymic disorder. Um, uh, of course, he owns X, so he's able to say, as much as he wants and whatever he wants. Um, I think the fact that he did get to be BFF with Trump and did go through the campaign and so on, that did sort of exacerbate the hypomanic part of his disorder. He feels, he could never become president in America, but this is like the next best thing. He does feel elated, thrilled with himself, proud of himself, that he has reached this level, that in his mind, the president depends upon him. I mean, he did to some extent, at least with money, support for the campaign. But so that he is in an exacerbated state of this disorder. I think it could calm down or it could get worse.
All right, fascinating stuff. What do you think are the chances that in 4 years' time, Elon Musk and Donald Trump will still be colleagues and friends?
Uh, I, it's tough. It all kind of depends. I mean, I think it's 50-50 because, I hope that they will be. But again, as I said, they both are such strong personalities. And if they have certain issues that they feel opposite on, for example, there was an issue that was a little, brought up some questions between the two of them. This whole thing about the H-1 visa and, the idea of, because Trump is so strong on keeping people out, on keeping people who are criminals or who are have been let out of an insane asylum without treatment, those kinds of people, the overwhelming number of people who have crossed the border and are not good for America. So Elon Musk is looking at that from a slightly different viewpoint as an industrialist, who presumably uses some of those people. So they're going to have to sort of work that out. That was I think a foreshadowing of some of the problems that could come up in the future.
I think you're right. And then there's also net zero in the environment, isn't there? Given the fact that Elon Musk owns the largest electric car company in the world, but Donald wants to drill, baby, drill.
Yes.
Carol, the last question on Elon before we get to Donald Trump. Is he on the spectrum, do you think, Elon Musk?
I know that has been brought up. I mean, he could be. He certainly could be, but he does seem to have difficulty in relationships with women. In any case, a lot of mothers of his children. And,
well, then that puts me on the spectrum.
I mean, yeah, it's not exactly the same thing, but he could be. I wouldn't venture. I need to really meet him and talk to him more to be more certain about that. I'm more certain about the cyclothymia.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, look, I bow to your expertise and knowledge, and the last thing we want to do is indulge in sort of armchair diagnoses. And I know that you would never do that, Carol. Can we talk about President-elect Donald Trump? On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you that he's won?
Yay!
Well, there you go. After 4 years of Joe Biden, will Donald Trump be a better president second time round?
I mean, he was a damn good president the first time around, but yes, I think he will be better because he has learned. It's not so much that he is going to be different, but he has learned that to be much more careful about who he puts around him. For Pence, I think, is the best example of that. He picked him, and Pence turned out to be a backstabber.
John Bolton.
I'm sorry.
John Bolton, another traitor.
Yes, he's picked people who in the end,
Scaramucci.
Really, really were against him. Not only weren't really good in their jobs, but were turned against him. And obviously, it's really hard for a president to work when you have people in your own cabinet who are working against you. I mean, Trump is going to have enough of a hard time with, draining the swamp. But I think it seems like the swamp has gotten thicker and muddier. The California fires is an example of that. I mean, that's not the swamp and swamp adjacent, I should say. It's even dirtier and muddier than people had thought. So Trump is going to have a hard time with that. I mean, he knew that, and he knew that the first time around too. But I think it's even deeper. He's going to have to work even harder than he may have anticipated. It's just so many people are want America to be destroyed. It's just hard to believe. I mean, I think that's part of the problem, that Trump, he loves America so much that it's hard for him to believe that some of these people are so evil, so nefarious, that they want to destroy America so badly. It's like hard for him to sort of get his head around that. Because of how much he loves America. But, he has learned more about that than in the past, and I think he will be able to do a better job of draining it.
Are you worried that he may be a little too old for a second term?
Nah. Old, age is only a number. I mean, he seems very surprisingly, I mean, compare him to Biden. It's not really the age, because they're very close to each other in age. It's about the health, and about one's psyche, one's outlook towards life. Biden was sort of closing in on life, and Trump is open. He wants more, and so I mean, what I am worried about, though, not so much his age, because I think he's been trying to take better care of himself too. He's gotten a little thinner and everything. But what I am worried about is people are still planning to assassinate him. And I worry that he's not taking a good enough, he's not worrying about that enough, or he's not taking good enough precaution. I mean, now, of course, he's going to be getting more Secret Service, or he did, or of course, we don't know how many of them are really doing their job. But he just goes so many places, and I worry that he's feeling a little too invincible, and that he's not taking enough precautions.
Yes, and it's hard to know whether the Secret Services have his back, given the terribly divisive nature of American politics. I mean, they were asleep at the wheel with that awful assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. You joined me on air on my previous TV show when that happened. And actually, you said to me, the guy is mentally robust. He will bounce back from this. And you were proved absolutely 100% right. Now, Carol, you mentioned the awful, appalling, tragic fires in California, particularly affecting Los Angeles, which is where you live. And I understand that you've actually had to flee your own home. What's happened to you, Carol?
Well, this is Malibu Fire 2.0, as far as I'm concerned, because in 2018, the Woolsey fire, my house, it wasn't destroyed totally, but it was so, the fire, and then came the mudslides, because it rained a lot after that, and I am next to a hill. So between the fire and the mudslides, and all the soot and ash that went in there, and then fighting with the insurance company and suing Southern California Southern California Edison. I'm still not back in my home. So while all of this, this new fire, I'm having contractors working on my current home, and the place that I've been staying for the past 6 years, um, that that's very near my real house, and so that was in danger too in Malibu, and I'm it's very emotional.
I'm so
Um,
sorry, Carol. It's devastating. I mean, so you've not had your own proper home for 6 years.
Right. Now, I can't complain. I'm actually very grateful for where I am. It's near my house and it's, on the water and it's very nice. But it's also very expensive
Mm.
because, the insurance ran out a long time ago, 6 years. Um, but I am grateful for it. Uh, and I'm grateful that my house wasn't totally destroyed. But, with with the Palisades fire that's inching ever closer, and with this whole thing that's going on, I mean, you know, aside from my situation and problems, and again, I am expressing gratitude, but I am living on pins and needles. So we evacuated to a nearby or far enough away hotel,
Yeah.
um, in the middle of the night. And in the winds, these winds on PCH, where you could be blown into the ocean very easily, on PCH and where we had to go. Um, but besides that, and so I'm watching the news all the time, and how close the fire is getting to my house and all that.
Yeah.
Um, but besides from my personal problems, um, what's really getting me just as aggravated is the fact that clearly this is a planned thing. You cannot make a scenario where essentially all of Los Angeles has been affected in various spots. I mean, this isn't all from the embers from the Palisades fire, which is what started it. There is no way that embers could reach in to what's the
Well,
oh
to cover that sheer geographical area, that
yes, all the way, because some of the fires are in the total opposite end of Malibu,
yeah,
the opposite
yeah.
end of Los
It
Angeles.
doesn't add
So
up,
there's
Carol.
yes, I believe it is a total setup, and I believe it's just like it's so funny, um, not funny, but so ironic
Mm.
that the woman who wrote a book about the Maui fires and about how that was all set up by the World Economic Forum, by the globalists, to be able to have the Maui essentially burned down and then come in and buy up the land for cheap. And she was supposed to be on my radio show on the Tuesday that the fire broke out. And of course, I had to cancel her because I didn't have electricity.
Yeah.
They turned off the electricity in Malibu. So, but she is saying, and she has someone on the ground in Los Angeles, in Malibu, and the other fires in Los Angeles, who are examining, and they're finding some of the same things that were in Maui in Los Angeles. Now, I am not prepared, like literally, I'm not prepared at this moment to be able to expound on that. But all the details of how they know what's similar.
Yeah.
Um, but there's that, and then there's drones, and then there's the fact that fires sort of just start, like, pop out of the air. And is that they've taken pictures of drones over some of these fires. So, and I've been saying for weeks now, since November, when the drones came upon us, came into America, that we have
Yeah.
to find out what these drones are. And no one seemed, the government is all telling us different stories. So that's a part of this fire too that is incredibly scary, because it's still out of control, and you have, basically, they have carte blanche. Newsom
Governor.
didn't. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the governor of California, of course.
Yes, yes.
Gavin.
He didn't make the dam. He closed the dams instead of making new ones, even though we voted in to have new dams. The mayor of Los Angeles was in Africa at an inauguration ceremony of someone in Ghana. She was not in Los Angeles. When she came back, they interviewed her. I don't know if you saw that, but it is an unbelievable interview
No.
because she just arrived back, and they said, "So, Mayor Bass, what do you think about the fires? What?" And she just stared for 45 seconds into the camera, into the audience. She didn't say a word. She somehow she thought it was okay for her to not say anything, to not answer the questions.
That is really, really shocking. And of course, there are reports that firefighters have had their funding cut, that
Yes,
water supplies were running
yes,
dry. And this is in the richest state in America. I mean, I think the entire economy of California is it bigger than that of the UK? An economic powerhouse, and yet with the resources of a third world country
yes, yes.
and the
They
leadership.
sent a lot of equipment to Ukraine. I mean, there are things that happened that where it can't possibly be an accident. I was just the here. I was just the fire. Oh, and this happens all the time, and I have been posting about it before this fire, about how when fires break out, they call for firefighters way too late. They call for too few firefighters way
Mm.
too late. So by the time they come, the fire is no longer just a small fire. It's a huge fire, and of course they have a harder time putting it out.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then
Carol, can I ask you? And I'm, you're absolutely entitled to your view. There's no tangible evidence that the fires in Maui or indeed in California are in any way or were in any way pre-planned. But you're not the only person that's raised this question. If it were a plan, what might have motivated it? Why would this have been done deliberately? If that's your view.
Well, because this is what the globalists are trying to do to America. The pictures that you referred to, not just Malibu, but like all of West LA, just about, Pacific Palisades, some of Santa Monica, then on the other side, um, then the Hollywood Hills. I mean, the way these fires sort of break out, it's as if someone was looking at a map and trying to get all of Los Angeles, like, in other words, picked spots where they would, the valley,
Well, to
Pasadena,
basically
that was where.
to destroy the city for some kind of nefarious territorial ambition and purpose.
Yes, either to be able to buy it themselves, and or to destroy the capitalist economy, to make people dependent upon the government, just like with COVID, where they had to give out money because people couldn't work. They weren't. Oh, that's another thing with the firefighters. A lot of firefighters were fired because with COVID, when they wouldn't take the COVID vaccine. There are so many
Yeah.
little pieces that are fitting together
Carol,
with all of
I
this.
hear you, but what would you say to those listening or watching that might be quite offended by your remarks regarding the fires in California, because obviously it's awful destruction? And what would you say to those claiming that you are a wild conspiracy theorist?
I would say just wait. Just wait. I know these things are hard to believe. I didn't want to believe them myself. Um, but when you start putting all this stuff together, it's like it's just you couldn't be by accident. This would be um, the biggest coincidence in the world that all these things happened. What I think should happen is that the mayor and the governor of California should be sued, should be put in jail, kind of like Fauci. Same kind of idea. We should replace them. I mean, it is so sad that we didn't have the man that ran against Karen Bass, who had some experience in building and so on. But of course, if he would have been in, I don't think this would have. Well, I can't say that for sure, but I mean, they wouldn't have had the help of Karen Bass in any case.
Well,
Um,
yeah.
but I mean, it's the same thing. People who don't want to believe that drones could be dangerous, but the man who ran his car into Trump's hotel in Las Vegas. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, of
The
course. Of course.
explosion.
Just recently, yeah. Just a couple of weeks
Um,
ago.
he did that, as you may probably already know. He did that. He wasn't a terrorist per se. It was a
Mm.
terrorist. He knew he was using terrorist tactics, and he did that on purpose to get the attention of Americans. But he was trying to get the attention to get people to realize that these drones are very dangerous. He was a Green Beret. He was in the military, and he was working on drones actually most recently. And he knew that the only people who have such high technology as the drones that are flying are America and China. So he was trying to wait. He said this is a wake up call, and I guess in a sense, I'm the terrorist therapist, and I've been trying to wake people up to terrorism. I'm not saying that he is that an ISIS or kind of terrorist, but I'm just
Mm.
saying it's the same idea that people are complacent and they don't want to believe that anything dangerous could be happening. They don't want to believe that another 9/11 could be happening. So it's kind of I'm trying to make parallels between the fire and the drones and terrorism. We have to wake up.
Well, it's fascinating. Let me tell you that this show is all about opinions. No one will get censored or cancelled, not on my watch. And as you say, Carol, regarding your theories and speculations about what's happening, time will tell. It's
That's
worth
right.
remembering that people saw their social media accounts cancelled for claiming that COVID had leaked from a lab. Well, now that is the most
Right.
likely explanation. So a lot of these conspiracy theories require about 6 months to become true. Can I, before I let you go, Carol, can we talk about a certain royal couple living in California, doubtless quite protected and shielded from the fires, and that is the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Harry and Meghan. Now, their professional lives have become increasingly separate. They attend events apart. They're often not together at parties. Does this tell us anything about the state of their marriage?
Well, I've said on your show a while back that I gave them about as much chance of staying together as Biden winning or something like that. Do you
Yes,
remember
I remember. Yeah,
that? So, um, so sometimes I do make correct
you do.
predictions for those who are still questioning the fire. Um, I think, basically what I've said before, I think it's just a matter of time for that marriage to break up. Um, Megan is like a this is going to be controversial too. Megan is like a drowning rat. She is looking for support. She's looking for something to hold on to every which way. And of course, the main person she was holding on to was Harry, and is Harry because of his royal connections. Um, but so they've been trying every which way to she's been trying every which way to still be relevant. And when the royal connection that because it's been so long, that royal connection has been sort of floundering a bit,
Mm.
so then she tried. They came up with they and their publicists and whoever came up with the idea of how about if they separate and do their own thing, but that didn't work out either. So now they're going to be trying to do more things together. I mean, she like a drowning rat reaching for whatever a drowning rat would reach for, leaves, trees, I don't know, and it's very sad in a way. And then of course, her father, you know. I
Thomas.
mean, he's moving from Mexico, and he's finally, I think, given up that as to whether he's ever going to be allowed to see his grandchildren. And he's 80, and so he's thinking he would like to have some pleasure in his life before he dies. I mean, not that 80 is, but
And he's
still,
not the
he's like the
healthiest. He's not the healthiest 80-year
well.
old, is
That's
he?
right. That's right. A heart attack and stroke
Mm.
and all of that. So yes. So, I mean, it's very sad that and how and that's the thing. Like she talks about oh yes, with the fires. This is the latest thing. She went on air, went on somewhere talking about how with the fire you should call your grandparents. You should check in with your family.
No.
Hello, yeah, you should too.
People in glass houses. I'll tell
So
you, it's pretty wild. I mean, listen, describing Meghan Markle as a drowning rat, isn't that a little harsh?
it just came to me just as I said it. But yes, it's a good. It was a good metaphor.
And listen, you are an expert on the human personality and the human soul. Can you give me a psychological profile of Meghan Markle? What kind of human being are we talking about here?
Well, she's narcissistic and uh, uh, um, selfish. She's all her 24/7. She's thinking about how she can get attention. She just wants attention, and she used her father. He's the one who worked to put her through private schools and give her acting lessons. And of course, his his job as a lighting director, an Emmy honored lighting director in Hollywood, went a long way in getting her her first acting gig. So she owes him everything, basically. And it's still amazing that besides the grandchildren who she hasn't let her father see, Harry never went to see her father to ask for her hand in marriage. He called him on the phone. I mean, what? Who does that?
No,
I don't
especially
think
especially not the king's son.
exactly.
It is quite
So,
shocking. So therefore, do you think that any marriage with someone like Meghan Markle is always doomed? Is Harry the innocent victim here? Do you think?
well, I used to always say that he was. I used to say, one of my books is Bad Girls: Why Men Love Them and How Good Girls Can Learn Their Secrets, and she of course fits in as a bad girl. But so I saw him as this, sitting duck that Megan was able to win over, to basically gaslight and get him to marry her. Um,
Because he was a vulnerable guy, right? Emotionally damaged, having lost his mother as a young child.
yes, and she used that. She tried to make herself as sort of the substitute, the replica of Princess Diana. She used that. But then, as time has passed, um, I don't. He is. I still say he is a victim of a bad girl, but he also was using. He also enjoyed. He also um, took advantage of, in a sense, the. He allowed her to be his mouthpiece. There were things that he was angry about with the royal family, and because she had a bigger mouth, basically, than he did. He kind of took advantage of that to express all the things that he was angry about in his book, Spare, and all that. Um, and so, but he came to England just recently, correct? Or he was going
Yes, that's
to?
right. Well, of course, he's pursuing legal action against a number of British newspapers,
Right.
and that trial restarts in a couple of weeks, and it's going to heap further embarrassment on the royal family.
Yes, and he went without Megan,
Yeah.
and I guess that he didn't really need her for the trial. But it's just. I mean, I know he misses them. I really think that he feels that part of him is aware that he made a mistake, and that he really misses his brother, the relationship that he had with Kate and with his father. I mean, yes, of course he's angry at his father for his affair and how he treated Diana and all that, but but I think he misses his family,
Do you
and he kind of
yeah.
resents Megan to some degree
Hmm.
for being the one who's keeping him away from them.
Well, he's paid a very high price
Yes.
in marrying that woman, hasn't he? Because he's lost his family, he's lost the respect of the country, his country of birth. He's given up his royal duties, and there he is in California, rattling around in a 16-bedroom Montecito mansion. If you were close to Harry, what would your advice be to him at this stage, Carol?
I would love to treat Harry. I don't think he has had very. I know he's had, times when he's
Therapy.
had some kinds of therapy, but I would love to get him to really to take him back to his childhood and start from the beginning and get him to understand himself better. If he once he did, I don't think he would stay with her. Of course,
Right.
he doesn't want to be the absent father, to his children. I think it would be very hard for him to leave his children, but I think I don't think it's going to, like I said on your show before, I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to work in the long run.
Who would be the one to pull the trigger? Would it be Meghan or Harry, do you think?
I think it's going to have to be Meghan, and it's going to be when she meets another guy
Right.
who is the equivalent of a prince. In other words, who is like royal Hollywood royalty, who
Yeah.
could then maybe even help her career, to get back into acting and so on. It would have to be that way. She would meet someone, she'd have an affair. Harry would find out. He would, be stuck with trying to figure out whether he should hang in there or leave her. And at some point, he would realize he should leave her. That it's too it's a conundrum to stay and be there for the children, or to leave
Yeah.
her and have his self-respect. So, but yeah, I think it would have to be that way first. I don't think that he's going to just one day decide on his own.
Carol,
Oops.
Carol, I understand that Thomas Markle, of course, the long-lost father of Meghan Markle, has described Prince Harry in quite uncompromising terms. Tell me more.
Yes, he said this right at the beginning, and it's the way to say it. I mean, it gets to the truth. He said that Harry was pussy whipped by Meghan, and there's no better way to say it than that. So I will defer to him.
Well, he knows better than anyone.
Exactly.
Before you go, Carol, do you think any hope of reconciliation between Harry and his family in England is impossible whilst he and Meghan are still together?
I would love that for Harry. The problem is that when he is still together with Meghan, the family can't trust him. Now, granted, they have some questions about trusting him even if she wasn't around, because he wrote Spare, but that was with her influence, and that was with her desire to become famous and so on. I don't think he would have done it on his own otherwise. So I am hopeful, especially with the king having cancer and all of that. I'm just hopeful for Harry to be able to go back and be welcomed to the bosom of the family.
Well, most definitely. Listen, you'll always be welcomed into the bosom of the Mark Dolan Show. Carol, I've been your biggest fan for many years. You are America's psychiatrist. It's the greatest privilege to have you on the programme. I do hope you will return. Let me tell you, certainly those watching and listening, that you can head to terroristtherapist.com to find out more about what Carol does. That is terroristtherapist.com. And check out her latest book. Don't forget, Carol is a best-selling author, and her latest tome is Lions and Tigers and Terrorists. Oh my, how to protect your child in a time of terror. Carol, listen, I wish you all the best, and I really hope that the awful situation in California with the fires resolves quickly, that homes can get rebuilt, and that you get a roof back over your head, especially the original house from which you've been absent for 6 years.
Thank you so much. And I wish you lots of luck with your new show. And your voice is so needed in England and in America, all over the world, where now they can actually reach you and see you.
I'm back, Carol, and so are you. Listen, thank you for those kind words. We'll catch up soon. My thanks to American psychiatrist Dr. Carol Lieberman.